This chapter is going to be a little bit different. We are skipping 9 and moving ahead to 10. We won't probably have a formal test at the end like the others because we're going to do some projects and presentations throughout this chapter that will replace your test. So we're going to be looking at DNA. We'll talk about different uses for DNA. We will do projects on some DNA mutations and the issues they may cause individuals. We're going to look at RNA and protein synthesis. How does DNA code to tell the body what proteins to make? And so those are a few things we'll touch on. So, first of all, we need to remember that the DNA is in the nucleus. This picture is what we looked at in chapter 8. So, the DNA is wound up to make the chromosomes. But in this chapter, we're going to look at it where it's all stretched out, and we're going to look at the individual parts of the DNA. This clip we will look at in class, and I can't really, because of YouTube issues, show this to you. I'll try to maybe link it. But there are lots of different crime shows that talk about DNA and different things. And so as you watch those, what are they looking at? What are they using it for? Where does DNA come from? So DNA has to come from a live cell. So when we talk about crime shows and them collecting DNA, a lot of times people think, oh, so at the crime scene, they're going to be looking at things like blood and cheek cells and fingerprints. But fingerprints really are not going to have DNA because that's just a copy of the pattern of your finger. It's not really going to have any cells to get the DNA. When we stretch that out, we're going to have different codes within that DNA. They may code for hair color or eye color or how tall you are, diseases that you're more susceptible to, all kinds of different things. So these codes are very important. Some things that DNA can be used for, if we look at this list, crime scenes. Is the person a possible suspect? Are they definitely eliminated? Maybe they've been in prison for many years for committing a crime, and then DNA proves there's no way this person could have done this. Things like establishing paternity. Is this person the father? We probably have a good idea who the mother is, but there might be some instances where that might even be an issue. Plea bargains. If the court knows that, hey, we've got this person's DNA, maybe they're going to, confess to the crime, and we can, depending on if they go ahead and plead guilty, how does that affect their sentence? Link a suspect to multiple crimes. So if they find someone's DNA at multiple crime scenes, maybe this person is a serial killer, or maybe they're committing multiple burglaries. One that a lot of people don't think about, identifying endangered wildlife. Maybe there's poachers and a poacher has a freezer full of meat. Can they say that this is just hamburger, or could it be some protected wildlife? So they could do a DNA test and see what this meat actually is. Identify victims of a disaster. Maybe there was a hurricane or tornadoes, bombings or fires, and they have all these victims and they don't know who they are. They can identify them possibly through their DNA. And then detecting microorganisms that might be polluting the environment. We can use DNA for that. This might be a little older than some of you, but there used to be a show called Maury Povich Show, and one of the things that he always talked about was paternity tests. So they'd have a brown envelope, and they would determine, is this person the father or not the father? And then in the next section, we'll be talking about the discovery of DNA.